Happy New Year, good people. I hope you're still doing good. This is a very, very good afternoon here in Africa. And today I want to talk about, with the same topic, today's we're in 2026 and Dee Mwango, I am Marwa. David Jr. not that much because David Jr. whatever he's doing good for his brand. But when you look at a person like Dee Mwango and I am Marwa, despite having a lot of subscriptions, their brands are not really doing well in terms of viewership, and this is the best time maybe to hire somebody to concentrate on their brand image and reputation. Maybe they can hire somebody to even be going through all the comments, because some of the comments that are in the comment section, not all of them come from haters. Some of them are honest critics. And as a brand manager, I would say Ayamaro would need somebody like that, because he needs somebody who can actually differentiate between an honest critic and a hater. Well, you have to ignore the haters, but some of these critics are always very, very honest. And you see, when somebody criticizes you from a point of love, that's a good message, because it tells you you need to change something. Because in this day and age where technology grows very fast, there are a lot of things that have to grow. If you look at the videos in the village done by IAMR, all of them, all the content creators within that village, most of them, they call them raw and unfiltered, which is okay. But then your viewers, they also need something that looks like, it's more professional, like you've taken time. You're not taking advantage of me because I can just come and view you. There's some of these things that you're supposed to take time. Like if I am Marwa, I would have had somebody who would have documented my journey for 2025, how it has been from all the way from the beginning to the end. Yes, we may have seen all that, but then there is somebody who would have done a good job at editing, identifying all the most pivotal moments, all the sad moments. Like there's a horse that died this year. There's also been a lot of backlash, the betrayals you're talking about. All that is part of you. It's your journey for this year, and maybe you could have reconnected with people, and you have the potential. You have the potential to employ somebody to go and do all that research for a day, and then make a compilation of yours of 2025. Dee Mwango the same, the achievements you've made, as much as we've watched it in series. Now we would have wanted to have a compilation of it. You understand? And then you also need to take a break if I were you, because your brand is everything and your reputation is everything on the internet. So without that, then there's a lot you can lose in the process. And this comes from an honest point of view, where I understand, like, you have your downfalls, and there's also the other side of you that people fell in love with in the first place. Because when you look at the number of subscriptions, they're not growing. It has stagnated, and you have a huge following, and that should be telling you something, that your level of influence is declining. Because basically there are people who subscribe to you. Some do not even watch content, some are not even on social spaces anymore, but they are not unsubscribing, they're still there. But if you really had huge influence, because imagine, out of the 570 something subscribers you have, if you were to only depend on donations, then probably like just 100 maybe are gonna be there for you, but in the long run it's not gonna be 100. Like, you really struggled to get Daniel a bike. You really struggled, and people did not come through for Git River as it was expected. And those should be hints that are telling you there's some change needed on your branding, because I am Marwa, without that YouTube following, you are nothing. Because the things you want to do right now, with horse breeding, with a travel company, with a farm, those things require a lot of capital, and that's capital you do not have at the moment. And the only way to have that capital is through YouTube. So I would highly suggest that maybe you can concentrate on YouTube for the next 5 years. You do what you need to do. Maybe you can resume traveling, and then after you resume traveling, everything else will just come, because your brand is everything moving forward. And I need you to think about big companies or some of these huge luxury brands. I want you to focus on the luxury brands, because each brand, there's somewhere they started. I mean, when you talk about Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Chanel, Coco Chanel, Alexander McQueen, all those, Louis V, all those brands, they came from somewhere, and at some point they do face a lot of backlash, especially with their adverts. You remember there's a time people were banning the Nike shoes, because Nike is an American company. There's a time a few years ago we heard that Black Lives Matter, and there are people who felt like Kaepernick was disrespecting the United States of America. Then what ended up happening is, with that publicity, Nike decided, we're going to utilize this opportunity. We are going to sign Kaepernick or something like this. He was a quarterback in NFL. So they signed that guy. But you see, the guy, when they're singing the national anthem, naturally, when there's a game, there's an NFL game, they start by singing the national anthem. So Kaepernick was the first person, and he would not stand when they're singing the national anthem. Rather, he would just lift his arm like this. So Nike signed him. So what ended up following, they came with a slogan, "Just do it," at that time. And Kaepernick was one of the ambassadors for Nike. So what ended up following, you all know, is some people felt these people are not being loyal to their country. And with Americans, loyalty becomes fast. So a lot of people, Nike faced a lot of backlash, especially from the Caucasian community. But what ended up following is, even after doing all that, Nike was able to, come back and make even more sales. All these big companies, they face backlash. Think about the likes of, Samsung, Facebook. They all face backlash, but it's how they handle that moment. That's a very defining moment for every big brand. I am Marwa, this is what I need you to think about. When you hear people talk about you and you kind of think, they're being negative, they're not being honest. If I were you, this is what I would do. I would not want to have a cult that just accepts everything I do. Even when you go peeing and showing some things that you're not supposed to show, they still do it. Those are people who are loyal to you, yes, but they should also tell you the truth. They should also criticize you, because you see, when they criticize you positively, they give you a chance to sit down and look back at what has been happening. We've seen you ignoring Rocio in so many occasions, but instead you should sit down. You do not have to win all the time. Sometimes you're going to have to lose. And that's one of the bitter lessons that you ought to learn this year, that you do not need and you do not have to win all the times. Some of these times you're going to have to sit down, think about what people are saying, think about that criticism, and take it positively. Make changes where need be. Now, the only changes I've seen you being keen on doing is when people are inciting you to, like, there's a guy called Chocolate something. the Canadian Jamaican guy who earns 300,000. No, it's not 300,000. It's actually 3,000. He's retired, so that's the money he gets as a retired guy, and he feels he's rich, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with somebody feeling like they're rich. But again, if that's the guy who's going to take to advise you, like you need to build a staff quarter outside the villa, which I agree. The staff quarter should be somewhere. I mean, for you to operate effectively, you need a staff quarter positioned somewhere. You do not have to live with your employees within the villa, even though initially it was just culture. We just wanted to initiate these people to let them know, you can live this kind of lifestyle. It doesn't really, your background does not define you. What defines you is your intention to grow and your character, which was okay. But those are the things I see you accepting, where you are being told disintegrate with the community, disintegrate with the people you employ. And bro, those are the people who work for you. If you disintegrate with those people, how then are you going to grow your channel? It's not going to work out. And that's a very honest opinion, that maybe you should take charge. Well, still on the same issue about your brand, there's something I would like to also stress out here. There's something we call brand identity. And I am Marwa, at least there's something that's different. You have a different proposition that can help you in selling your brand. People know that you have a problem with your eye, and that's a fact. That's factual. You came from a very humble beginning. That's also a fact, because people can go and search throughout your story. The good thing is that your story and your identity, what defines you as Marwa, is already documented throughout your YouTube journey. Nonetheless, majority of your subscribers are people who followed you from day one. These are the people who knew you as a young boy without your dreadlocks, traveling from one country to another, in Cuba, Colombia, all those countries. But now, think about it this way. You're at a point where you need to have a ranch. You're doing your tour and travel business. How do you woo? How do you entice the new subscriber? How do you entice the new customer? How do you entice somebody who doesn't know you? Can a person look at you today and define who Marwa is? Can a person really look at you today and define this is who Marwa is? And today, majority of people, if I want to know about you, I'll have to go and look deeper. I'll not just listen to what you're telling me now. I'll have to go and investigate. This is what in the United States of America they call it the background check. So if somebody is really interested in knowing about your brand, knowing about I Am Marwa, they are going to go a little bit deeper and start looking at the background check. Now, one of the things they're going to find out is they have the positive side of you. They are going to go through all your YouTube channel, all majority of your videos, and have that one identity. But then there's something that damages your reputation. All these people who are called reactors, negative reactors, they are human beings, and you see, whatever they put out there, whether they are hating or they're not hating, I've listened to them, and honestly, there's something they're saying, and I think you need a good PR team to counter that, because they're saying something. You cannot just sweep that under the radar and ignore it, because one of the identities that these people and everybody who is reacting to your videos, some of the identities you've been given is that you are a scammer. You do not help out of a genuine heart. They know you as a scammer. You only survive on donations. You're not interested in your YouTube channel. That's what is coming off. And listen, you are at a point where this is the highest time that you really need to rethink about your brand. You want your brand to have the best reputation ever. Now, with the reactors reacting negatively towards your brand, what's going to happen is you cannot entice the new subscriber. Majority of the people who I've seen come to visit the village, majority of them are from the United States of America, or people who have known you for quite some time, and they're quite elderly. So your brand, as it is right now, it's mainly covering those people. Or the other people I've seen come to visit your village are probably couples who, one is white, the other one is African, something like that. So it's another niche. But now, is it possible that your brand can sustain that niche? Do you need to expand? Are you how do you entice the Gen Zs? Because the Gen Zs, they're not coming to you to promote your business. They're not coming to you for business. They're coming for shoutouts. They're coming there to pick whatever they are picking from you. And they're doing a very good job at it. Look at all the YouTubers who benefited from Gogo's project. Right now, we are talking about Fadela TV. He's building a house, a very nice house, by the way. Actually, if there's a person who has very good exterior design, the selection of the stone, the masonry stone, the selection of those stones were creatively selected. I mean, that person who selected, if it's Fadela TV, he has a good taste for aesthetics because they are naturally beautiful. He does not need to plaster the exterior walling. All he needs to do is, to have some points and keys, and then that thing's going to stand. Now that's one of the beneficiaries, a young person who has benefited from you. Mark you, Fadela TV has less than 3 million subscribers, but he's building a house that is worth more than $30,000. That house is worth more than $30,000, and they're doing it non-stop. What does it tell you? The young people you're enticing, they will not come to promote your business. They also have dreams, they also have goals. So most basically, they will come to you, they get a shout out, and then they leave. And as they leave, they're only taking. By the time they are leaving, they met you with some subscribers. So every time I come for a shout out, I'll come, get maybe 10 of your subscribers, they come and help me. And like I said earlier, you do realize there's a time you are campaigning for Daniel to have a bike that would have costed around $1,500. Or let's just say $2,000 US. And it took you about a week or two for that bike to come. And that's gonna tell you something. Your brand reputation is on a decline. And the future of your brand is very uncertain because apparently one of the biggest brands that was effectively working was your YouTube channel. And that's a baby you should have protected. That is a baby you should have protected with all that it takes. Think about some of the big YouTube channels here in Kenya today. We are talking about the likes of Obina, the likes of Kabiwa Jesus, the likes of what's the name of this lady? Diana B. Those brands are working with corporates because there's no way you're going to make it in YouTube. People skip ads. So most definitely, as much as you're going to make money from YouTube, and the big slaps when you do lives, as much as you're going to make money from YouTube, there are also other areas that I think, from where I stand, I am Marwa, you should have thought about. Think about brands. Think about big brands that you could have worked with. Like now, Rocio was traveling, she was using the Qatar Airways. At the level you are in Africa, she chose not to use the Ethiopian Airlines directly to Argentina. She went to Qatar, and then she was connecting from Qatar to Madrid. She was connecting using the Qatar Airways. Now imagine if there is a way you would have communicated using your platform to promote the Qatar Airways. Like you would have seen Rocio the way she was in business class. The delay in flight made it possible for her and her family to sleep in a 5-star hotel in Qatar. And she was not paying even a dime because it was not her mistake. It was the airline's mistake because they missed to connect her from one flight to the other. So to recompensate that, they had to book her a 5-star hotel. And what does that tell you? It's a direct promotion of Qatar Airlines. So if I wanted to travel outside Kenya, I would rather use Qatar Airlines rather than use any other airline. There's a guy called Sam Chui. Now Sam Chui, SAMCHUI. SAM backspace, spacebar, CHUI. Now that guy does reviews for airlines. Now imagine if I am Marwa with your brand reputation and with your brand. What if you had collaborated with Qatar Airlines? Even if they would have given you maybe a free trip, it would have helped you travel from one country to the other. What if you collaborate with other tour and travel companies? Because you see, it does not make any sense for your Land Cruiser to be staying at Nyabohanse while there's a lot of work that can be done. And I don't know if you know it, but I don't know. But sometimes you'll see the big travel agencies or the big travel and tours companies here in Kenya. At times they will have so many customers at a particular time. And the only missing thing they have are enough Land Cruisers. So what ends up happening is your Land Cruiser could be booked when you do not have clients. Matata could be ferrying clients for another company. So you will be collaborating with that company for a bigger thing. I remember I saw you asking Matata if he has taken numbers the recent time when you were in Nairobi with your family. I heard you ask Matata, have you taken numbers of these Land Cruiser drivers? And that was a good question because you do realize that Matata needs to interact with these people. And that's a good thing because you're investing in your employee. And if you invest a lot in Matata, if you do not frustrate that guy will also speak positively about you. But look at the people who've been working for you initially. When they get out there, they speak ill of you. Look at what you did to Max Bryan. You chased him. And adding salt to the wound, you came and confirmed that you have chased him. And you wanted to ruin his reputation. That should not be the reputation of your brand. That the owner of this brand, that's what he does. And you have to think about it deeply because think about somebody like Elon Musk. As big as he is, being the richest person in the world does not mean that he could not ruin his reputation. When Trump got into power the second time, these guys were just kumbaya. They were always together. They were so tight. But what ended up happening is there are some of the policies that were initiated by Elon Musk, and they did not sit well with Americans. So what ended up happening, they had to hurt his brand. So all of a sudden, Tesla sales started declining. The Cybertruck, it was not selling. And if you would compare to the number of orders Tesla Cybertruck had when it was first launched, you would realize that you do not joke with a company's reputation. Remember, all along, if you talk about Tesla, you cannot talk about Tesla if you're not talking about Elon Musk. If you're talking about Elon Musk, you have to talk about Tesla first, even before you think about SpaceX. And those are some of the things that you have to think about, I am Marwa. Because your brand, you are the face of your brand. It's called Marwa Travels. You are the face of your brand, Marwa's Villa. And by the way, the funny thing is, if you go to Google Maps, trust you me, if you search Villa Magellan, you'll find it there. Villa Magellan, if you go to Google Maps right now, Villa Magellan, you'll find it there. Nasto's house, you'll find it there. It's something you can Google on Google Maps and it will take you directly where it is. Now think about that for a minute. Even Congrats Mom house, it is there. It is there. I'm speaking of things I know. Now think about it for a minute. If you ruin your reputation, you're going to ruin a lot for yourselves. And think about other proteges that you've created. Think about people like Nasto. Think about people like Chalo Kush and Lynette Kenya. Now those people are very, very careful with how they communicate. They are making it. They are making good progress. But they're very, very careful about how they communicate, how they interact with your viewers, how they respond to messages. They do not have a cult, a gang that comes for them. They have created a community where they can accept criticism and act on it if they need to. Sometimes you do not necessarily have to act on those criticisms, but Marwa, you have to learn. Being a good leader means that you can also be a good listener. You don't have to be the only one who is speaking. Most effective CEOs, they understand their responsibility. Their responsibility is to delegate duties. Once you delegate duties, if you have a soldier, just tell the soldier, this is what I expect. By soldier, I mean the security guard. The security guards understand this is what I need. Have you ever watched musicians perform and then a fan jumps on the stage? Or in football, you have somebody like Messi or somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo, and a fan jumps and runs to the field. What you see, you will always see security officers running. Well, if Cristiano or the artist performing decides, okay, fine, all he wants is a hug, okay, fine, let me just hug them. But immediately after that hug, they are taken out. Even these celebrities, they understand their limits. If I employ a bodyguard, I know the responsibility of the bodyguard. There's a time the former president of Kenya was caught driving, and that's very, very risky because there are certain protocols that have to be followed. And if you do not follow those protocols, you are putting the people in charge of you at a risk. That's the same thing, I am Marwa. You need to understand, moving forward, you have to do everything from a professional perspective. You do not have to do things the way you've been doing them. Camera and people. I'm giving you a job. Hey, meet the start team. And the best thing you can do is give them overalls and gumboots and responsibilities. And then from that, that's it. And just do it for content. You need to differentiate between content and real work. And that's one of the ways you can easily grow your brand, because I would not want to see you in a situation where the Marwa's brand becomes dead after the first generation. You people have come from a very humble background. Luckily, your family is doing very well. Congrats Mom has a channel. Your dad is a farmer. David Jr. has his channel and he's building. Your sister Dee Mwango'S is doing well. She's building, she's doing good. And you're also doing a lot of good things for yourself, which means none of your family members is dependent on you. At least you taught them how to fish. And they're doing a very good job at it. But again, as much as they're doing a good job at it, you guys as a family, there's a point where you are losing. Don't just assume that people are just coming at you. Life did not start at Nyabohansi and life does not end at Nyabohansi. No, the reality might start kicking in when it's too late. But now, in 2026 you might decide, you know what, I'm gonna have to change everything. And I remember there's a guy who had come as a brand manager, and I think that was Rocio's idea. I don't know what really happened with him, but we've never heard of him since. There are also other guys who had come as host trainers. And you see, when you employ professionals, let them be. Stop micromanaging people. But that's a topic I'll talk about later on, because we want to see you win. And we were wishing you the very best. Other than that, we hope that 2026 is going to be a great year for you. And there's a lot we shall continue talking about in this video, because we expect to see a lot of changes in the way you handle things, and the way you handle your business, the way you handle everything else that you do. So lastly on this video, I am Marwa. You have to defy the urge to micromanage. Now, we've seen a lot of videos recently, because I've watched you for quite some time. I've seen how you relate with employees. I've seen how you relate with Rocio. I've seen how you relate with your sisters, brother, and everybody else you work with. One of the things that I have noted is that you kind of feel like you're the king. You kind of feel as if Nyabohanse is a monarch, and it being a monarch, the hierarchy of orders and directions and how things must be executed, they have to start with you to the last person on the line. Well, that's going to hurt you even further. Somebody must tell you that in some extent you love to micromanage and you're a pure control freak. Now, what being a control freak means is you want to be there when your employees are working. You want to direct everything they are doing. Now, that's going to be super dangerous for your company and for your brand, because the moment you start micromanaging, it becomes a disaster. And that explains why most of the professionals that you've employed before, they always leave. Sad Max Brown had to leave because of the incidents that happened, but majority, there were 2 host trainers that had come, and they would not stand. They can't stand you, because people who are professionals, they love to exercise autonomy. And when I talk about autonomy, is they want you given me a job as a host trainer, so it's me and the host. Let us relate. I do not need further directions from you. You need to vanish. You need to quit. You need to stop interacting and interfering with my work. Once you employ me as a professional, allow me to exercise professionalism. Let me do the work as I see it fit, without you directing me further. Now, there are some of the dangers that I experienced when you are a control freak as a leader. So I am Marwa. One of the things that is going to affect your company is you have a very low employee turnover rate. That means you do not retain employees for a very long time. Like now, if I ask you, who is your longest serving employee? For how many years have they worked with you? Not friends, employee. Who is your longest serving employee? And that should tell you about you. How comes you do not have employees who've stayed in your place for more than 4 years, 5 years? And yet you're calling it a big company. What about that? Because that's a thing that you as a leader must understand and must be keen to look at. You cannot just ignore the fact that these people come there with ambitions. They also come there with their own issues. And one of the things they do not want is extra issues. If you give me a job and then you start following me every single moment, when I start doing this, you tell me, no, it's supposed to be this. Because you have horse trainers, people who have interacted with horses for a long time, and they know they can watch the behavior of that horse, and then you're telling them, no, don't do that, do this. and yet you invited them to train the horses. And I'm just using that because that's the most recent incident that has occurred. So I have to use it for majority of you to understand where I'm coming from. Now, being a control freak still, it makes you have a bad reputation in the aspect that people will start viewing you as one of the most difficult persons to work with. And that affects every other prospect employee that might want to come and work with you in future, because majority of people who get to know you, they know you from YouTube. They see you from YouTube. So imagine if I want a job in your place, what I'll do is I'll go and see what people say about you. And the recent incidences that have occurred shows that there is something that needs to be done. You're coming off as one of the most difficult persons that anybody who wants to work with you might not want to, because they find you difficult, and the only people who will work with you are just desperate. You don't want a desperate person to come and work with you. You want people who know what they want. You want people who can understand your mission, your vision, the objective of the company. And so when they come, they are helping you to achieve the mission, the vision, and the objective. They're not coming there for salary only, but they're also coming there to ensure that the Marwa's brand has grown. And that's why it looks crazy and stupid for you to say that employees should not have YouTube channels. Come on, we're in 2026. In 2026, one of the best things that can benefit you, Marwa, is let them have YouTube channels. Because what happens, like in Max Bryan's case, when he has a YouTube channel, as much as he's making content, he's motivated, his morale is up there. When you become a control freak, what ends up happening is most of the employees will have their morale so down. So they're waking up in the morning and thinking about coming to the villa to work, and they're like, no, I have to work. I have to go there and work because I don't have a choice. And then when I'm there, I'm just praying, God, let this time just fly as fast as it can, because I can't stand my boss. But I have to be here, because if I leave this job, then my wife, my children are not going to have anything to eat. Imagine if YouTube restricted you to only posting one video per month. Imagine if YouTube restricted you to only posting one video per month. Imagine if YouTube dictated that you're only going to do this kind of content. Imagine if there was no freedom, like if you're traveling, if you're a traveler, the only videos you can post is of you traveling. If you're in the village, the only videos you can post are the ones in the village. Yet you're creative, you're a content creator. And when we talk about you being a content creator, it means you produce content and then you deliver it to people. And people find your content educating and willing and something they can follow, then good for you. They can watch and follow you. Now that kind of dictatorship affects your company. And I would highly recommend that maybe you need to study about leadership and the type of leadership strategies that you can use, because initially you came off as a servant leader, as a transformative leader, whereby you wanted to see a lot of people in the village become people in the future. But what has ended up happening is the same people you wanted to grow are the same people you've been fighting and the same people you've been beating. So what does that make you? How do you think the morale of your employees is going to be? And that's why people are just leaving. They are no longer working. And I hope I can find some videos to attach to prove my point. because they are so many. By the way, they are so many. Anybody willing to have evidence on what I'm saying, there are so many videos that I am already done showing how you really control everything, and that affects your leadership abilities. And then you come and you do a live without your glasses to woo people, to for them, because you did that on purpose. You're always on glasses, so the moment you remove those glasses, you did it on purpose. It was not just removing glasses for the sake of removing the glasses. You did it on purpose because there's that emotional majority of your subscribers. One thing I've learned about majority of your supporters is they are so gullible. They're so gullible in the aspect that they easily feel for you. They don't look at things, not all of them and not all the time, but in some instances, they do not look at you from a logical, from a pragmatic point of view, but they handle your message emotionally. And that's one of the things that has really helped you to grow, because you speak to the people emotionally. Unfortunately, you've not managed to use that emotion to speak to people and entice them about your brand, because what I would have expected, even with the 20,000 views, the Land Cruiser should not be relaxing. The farthest that Land Cruiser has gone is taking your family. I haven't seen clients use that Land Cruiser, yet your company is like the Marwa's brand, the travel and tours company. It's like about 4 months old. We haven't seen you do a travel with different clients, and even like the Jamaican visitors who came, they did not book. Mike Kizo, there's a driver that had go to pick them from the airport. They had to book a different car, and that says a lot. Those are hints that you as a leader should look at and rethink about them for your company moving forward. Other than that, I'm hoping that maybe you could listen to some people who are making sense and incorporate all they're saying moving forward. Other than that, cheers to you and all the best.